Hi, welcome back to the podcast with the team of education. We have Cheryl here back with us today. Hi, Cheryl.
Hey. Recently, I heard this story, and I would really want to share with our audience here about how your kid sold a Pokemon card that cost $50. He sold it for $50. Now, tell me first, how much did he buy the card for?
I think it was a pack of, I think the pack was $7, but I think it probably has like 10 cards inside.
So that
And
works out to be 70 cents per card, right?
yes,
And
something
this
like that.
dude, your kid sold it for $50. What was your first reaction when you found out?
To be honest, my first reaction was, good job, my boy. Good job.
Yay! Woohoo!
Good job. Number one is the entrepreneurship spirit to be able to, I don't know what was his speech or his, sales speech that got the other kid to buy. And number one is his entrepreneurship spirit. Number two is like how he was trading the gray area. So, okay, buying and selling is not allowed in the school. Buying and selling is not allowed in the student care. This event occurred on the way in the school bus during transit from school to student care. So there was no laws governing anything happening on the bus. So this is, I don't know whether he chose it, but I say, good choice of timing. Anyway, we got to know that because a school teacher, called us that this happened, and then they wanted us to take note, and then this allowed him from doing such transactions in the future. And then the second question that I had in mind was that how did the other kid get hold of $50? Because my boy is in primary one. Yeah, but that's the interesting part. What do you think
Wow.
about that?
Well done. I mean, like he managed to get past all the rules. He knows when he's not supposed to sell. So he found a slot. This is all like, the word for that, like, to be able to walk around the corners. So that's so awesome. But yeah, were you made to pay back that $50 to
Yep.
the parents?
Yes. We had to, yeah, my kid had to return the money, but I'm sure it was a interesting experience for him. And then I of course I did not put down the experience in any way at all. I just said that a good try, but maybe it's the circumstances were not right. But then the ideas you had on this was great.
Okay. So you managed to turn it into a learning point for him.
Yes. It's
Wow.
like after going to your entrepreneur fair, that he started know that, I
Oh,
can earn
really?
money from my stuff. And then my wife wanted to use Pokemon as a teaching tool, like when he played the Pokemon games, taking turns, damage counters, and that's how she introduced math in. And then he started thinking, probably he put two and two together, that my Pokemon can be used to make money because I buy it and then I can sell it because I know which card is premium. Yeah.
Wow, yes. I'm so excited. Talking about the entrepreneurship fair, there was also another mom who found that the entrepreneurship fair really benefited her child.
Mm.
So what happened was she has this really shy child, and they were making resin keychains. They were beautiful, so beautiful with sparkles and stuff like that. So but she wasn't sure whether her child would be able to sell any of these keychains, because she was such a shy child. Even in school during show and tell, she would not speak up during the show and tell. So
Mm.
imagine doing in this entrepreneurship fair, you are going to be speaking with strangers, adults, people that you have not ever met before.
Mm.
Imagine show and tell will be like all your friends, right? Your friends,
Mm.
your teachers, like people you have met before.
Yeah.
And in an entrepreneurship fair, you'll be meeting people that you have never met before. And
Mm.
on top of that, we had this like a pitch competition, and you have to be pitching to the judges about what you're doing this and stuff like that.
Mm.
And so this child eventually got one of the main top pitching prizes. There were
Oh.
3 categories that we had, but she won one of the categories. And her mom came up to me and like, you know what, this is something that I do not expect of my shy child. But she really stood up because she realized that this is something really important to her, that she really want to sell well, advocate her cause. She was doing some charity related stuff also. That drive and motivation to really step out because that's what she wants. And that's a brilliant example, just like your child, finding ways to say that this is what I want and I'm really going for it. It's such empowering stories to hear, even though, just getting around the boundaries of school can be a bit tricky and selling it at the right time at the right price. But even then, this is just so wonderful to hear that, these are the experiences that you take away with you, right?
Yes.
Even if it still eventually didn't happen because it got reversed, refunded. But it's the fact that they even thought about this, that they went up and go ahead against all odds of just really working through all of that.
Yeah, the story you brought about the shy girl and then being able to overcome what she had, I think what you say made me thought about like probably she had a why behind why she's doing this, and then that
Yes,
why allowed her to conquer all her
her
fears.
fears.
And having a why behind what we do is really important. Having a mission or a purpose. Yeah.
That's all for all of us, isn't it? Even as
Yes.
adults,
Yes,
like
exactly.
you have to really hold on to your why, to not be afraid and have that courage. Just
Mm.
last session we were just talking about courage and not afraid of failures, and I think having a why is really so important.
Yeah, yes, totally agree. If parents actually want to like start their kids on the entrepreneurship journey and then they're not sure how to start, what would you advise them?
Oh, there's so many things that I can say, and I think the parents are also the ones holding their children back by not letting them know that there are possibilities. And a lot of times, even like some people that I spoke with, I ran a very big fair in a very beautiful place, and
Mhm.
everybody came up to me like, when are you going to run this next one? I'm like, you don't have to wait to me. Yeah, you don't have to wait for me. You can do it on your own, and there are so many opportunities of people doing it on their own, and we just have to empower our kids to tell them that they can do it on their own. So some
Mhm.
examples I'm going to give you. So there's this child, a
Mhm.
homeschooled child.
Mhm.
This is my homeschooling friend, and she said that my child wants to sell some stuff and she wanted to make some money. So she brought out a portable table right by the bus stop where she lives near the HDB, and then she just sold a few things, a few trinkets, that jewelry related stuff that she made, and she just did that just for a couple of hours and she was happy. you know
Mm.
and then there's another parent who
Mhm.
was moving house, and then they have all of these excess stuff that they are trying to get rid of, right?
Mhm.
So they put up a few things outside their door,
Mhm.
and then they had a child who sat there and then just sold stuff to the people who are passing by. They even
Oh.
sold like canned drinks for $1. It's really,
Ah.
really cute. Yeah, so that's all it takes. You don't have to be fanciful. You don't have to be in a big venue with lots of people. Of course, the size of your market, the audience that are coming in, the people that are coming in will be smaller if you're doing it in a smaller venue,
Mhm.
or like doing it in a backyard in your house. But it's totally possible, right? So
Yes.
yeah, we just have to really just be open. When I
Mhm.
ran my entrepreneurship course,
Mhm.
to tie in with our entrepreneurship fair. So we had a few runs of how to run a business before the fair in preparation for the actual fair.
Mhm.
So our classes were outdoors. So we were at Gardens by the Bay, and
Mm.
my partner ran another class in one of the industrial buildings. And we tried to actually ask the industrial building whether we could set up a market, but the cost was too high. But there was certainly somewhere that you can go to ask buildings, to ask for spaces to see whether we can sell stuff, and they have a captive audience during the lunch crowd. But
Mm.
for Gardens by the Bay, when we were outdoors, we just literally set up a mat. We set up the mat, and then we put the items up, and then we got the kids to go up, like, putting these things here don't work, right? You have to go out to talk to people. So then
Yeah.
they learn to go out and talk to people. And they say, would you like to buy my things? And they
Mm.
sold stuff. And there were,
Mm.
people who were so supportive of their work.
Yes.
And we also did another backyard fair in my house near my.
Mm.
I live in a relatively touristy area with good traffic. So I just put up a booth right outside my backyard, and we captured people who were like taking photographs and just
Nice.
really, yeah. So there were people who bought. In fact, there were also people who just donated money. You say, I don't need anything. I love what you're doing. Can I just give you $5?
So
And it
cool.
became a whole debate, a class debate of what we are going to do with the money. Does this
Mm.
money just go to one child who sold the item? Does it go to the whole pot where all of us share the money? And so it became a full discussion of, a full learning and full discussion of
Mm.
what we are going to do with the money. So
Mm.
these are so much learning that can happen when you set a child free and let them run their own business, isn't it?
Yes. Yes. Wow, very nice experiences. I was thinking that if like running a garage sale of sorts, it sounds a bit daunting. You probably heard of Etsy, and that's one global site. And then from our own backyard, Carousel is a good place to start. I think my kids have been knitting and then a few fruits in preparation for your upcoming entrepreneur fair. And who knows, we may like test out the market on Carousel with that also. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And it could be also as simple as some of the homeschool moms, what they would do is they would put a post out on behalf of their child. So they would take a picture and then they would send out to the moms or the parents, or just put on their own Facebook page to say that my child, and then a note that's written by the child says that I'm selling this to raise money for my drum lessons. Would you please support me? Kind of thing. And people also do support them. And this is just very simple way that you as one person can do, and you don't have to have the support of a platform or somebody who's holding a fair. Having said that, I work with Stacy PSC, and she's the one who I work with for the entrepreneurship course. She actually runs a course to teach parents how, and educators how they can create their own entrepreneurship course to teach their, whether it's their own children or other children. It's an online course, and maybe in the future, when I get the time, which is always limited, you know that. I would like to give like a handbook, like to teach people how they can set up a business fair, where they can help to empower their children in a small scale or a big scale way. I think it's just so important that we are advocates for our children.
Yeah. Yeah. An example came to mind because previously where I was staying in Jurong, there was another homeschool family. They had 3 kids, and then they were raising funds to buy a piano. So the parents started up with the initial fund to buy the essential materials and ingredients for baking. And then the kids started selling to neighbors, and then they would carry a tray of pastries or bread, and then would go up and down the stairs to every family. And then I think the kids consistently did it for a period of months. And then eventually they managed to buy like electronic keyboard piano. And then thereafter they went on to the next project. And I thought that was really beautiful. Yeah.
Yes, that's a wonderful story. I know that family, and I really love that family too. I think they are the ones, I think might be the same family about the drum lessons one. Yes, it's really wonderful to be supportive of our young little kids. So yeah, I think can be so many things that we can do to support our children in terms of creating opportunities for them to sell stuff. And I think entrepreneurship is such a interdisciplinary learning. You're not just learning math, you're learning presentation skills, you're learning listening skills, you're learning, so many skills,
Consumer
It's so,
psychology.
like, how deciding whether people will buy your stuff or not. And yeah, and analytical skills, all of these skills are just such wonderful skills. And if you can give, if you don't have time and that's the only thing that you can afford your child to do, just get him to work on that, selling stuff.
Yeah, I would like to add in here that the process of entrepreneurship and selling is about providing a service or a solution to a certain problem, and then to let the kid have the idea that I am providing something of value. It may be a product, it may be a service, and then it's like that's what makes the world go round. It's like providing service for other people.
All right, I guess that's all the time we have, right, KY?
Yes, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you, Cheryl, again for sharing your
Thank you,
expertise on the subject.
KY. Thank you, KY.
You're most
Hope to speak to you the next time about something else interesting.
okay. Sure thing, Cheryl. Okay, catch you again next time. Bye.
Bye.